16 people injured in a shooting and smoke bomb attack aboard a Brooklyn subway this morning. Authorities say as the train was approaching the 36th Street station, someone on board put on a gas mask, then set off a smoke bomb and started shooting. Thank you, everyone, for joining us here for Crime 2 News First at 4. I'm Whitney Ward. We begin tonight as New York City police are now searching for a suspect who opened fire inside that subway station this morning. Preliminary reports indicate at least 10 people were shot. 16 are now in area hospitals. Elise Preston has the latest tonight.
A photo posted on social media shows victims down and a bloody scene at a Brooklyn, New York subway station. A spokesman for the New York City Fire Department says fire personnel found multiple shooting victims when responding to reports of smoke inside the 36th Street subway station. A spokesperson for the mayor said smoke devices were found on the scene. A law enforcement source says the suspect fled the scene wearing a gas mask, dressed in a construction worker's vest. A witness described what he heard on the phone to CBS News.
I was in the train station minding my own business when I heard bah!
Coming up the stairs, exiting the train, I saw maybe a 16-year-old that was sitting on the stairs with a bullet in his knee.
Neighborhood residents saw victims coming out of the station.
5 people coming out.
They were injured.
Yeah.
And I know you were...
5 people.
Schools in the area locked down, with all students and staff sheltering in place. Elise Preston, CBS News, Brooklyn, New York.
And NYPD says they are now investigating this shooting as a potential act of terrorism. New York City has faced a series of shootings and violent incidents in recent months, including a woman who was pushed to her death in front of the subway train. The city's new mayor, the former police officer Eric Adams, has now pledged to crack down on crime, especially on the subway. In the meantime, back here at home, one man is dead after a fatal shooting early this morning in north central Spokane. Police say they received multiple reports of gunshots near Maxwell and Lincoln. While police were then responding to that area, another caller told police about a car crash near Augusta Avenue and Wall Street. That caller told police there was a man lying in the street, not moving. We did get some scanner traffic from Broadcastify online about that incident. It depicts conversations between dispatch officers and law enforcement at the scene of that shooting this morning.
Shots were heard fired in a wide perimeter around this location. Use caution. We're not sure if this vehicle is related.
On the phone with the caller. Sounds like there's one gentleman, the one vehicle hit a parked car. He is breathing, but sounds like he's going downhill pretty fast there. Our mayor does have a gunshot wound to his abdomen. We've got another caller at Augusta and Lincoln saying they saw the involved vehicle possibly take off from there.
Now, police did find the man who they say was suffering from an apparent gunshot wound. That man was ultimately pronounced dead at the scene. The investigation is still ongoing, but if you happen to live in that area and witnessed anything, or maybe you have a Ring doorbell or some sort of surveillance camera, police are asking you to check it, and please call Crime Check. Spokane's mayor is taking steps to form a task force in response to a recent string of shootings, especially those that happened just last weekend. Mayor Nadine Woodward says shootings are increasing not just in Spokane, but all across the country. And she asked the question, what is Spokane going to do to prevent these crimes? Her answer is a task force focused on taking a more proactive approach to addressing these types of violent crimes.
We are in the process right now of forming that task force, deciding who should be at the table, what it looks like, and what we're going to focus on. And if we can get to the preventative part of this crime, then I think that would be the goal.
The mayor says she understands the Spokane community is frustrated right now with this recent drive-by series of shootings. She says she shares their concern, but she also encourages the community to help police in their efforts to take a stand against violent crime. And police have also identified a man who was shot after allegedly violating a no-contact order in Airway Heights. Police say 28-year-old Peter Wilson was shot in the back by his 25-year-old girlfriend. There was a no-contact order in place between the two at the time. Wilson, police say, was booked into the Spokane County Jail for violating that order. No charges have been filed yet, though, in relation to last week's shooting. New at 4, Camp Hope in the East Central neighborhood is growing. That's the tent city there along I-90. Also growing is the number of reported crimes in the neighborhood. According to Spokane police, more than 800 calls have been made to within a quarter mile of that tent city since the start of December. Now, Camp Hope is located off of I-90 in Freya. You probably have seen it. Neighbors in the area say they've seen it growing from 2 to 3 tents to now dozens and dozens. The camp sits on state-owned land, which means the city can't officially step in to remove anyone. This much to the dismay of many who live in the East Central neighborhood. One homeowner says the situation is affecting those living across Spokane as well as prospective homebuyers.
You're driving into Spokane, Washington, and what do you see? That's what you see. Does that represent Spokane? I don't think so. So, I'm pretty ticked off about it. It's just affecting all of us, but I just can't imagine being somebody thinking about moving into Spokane and seeing that nightmare.
Now, according to SPD, the number of incidents since December of 2021 to now has gone up 58% just compared to the same time frame last year. SPD says incidents are defined as calls for service that come into 911 or to crime check. The East Central neighborhood chair says most neighbors complain about porch theft and breaking into cars. Others say that a major concern is just how close that camp is to Libby Middle School. And the city of Spokane is looking to add a new 24-hour homeless shelter in East Spokane. The proposed low-barrier shelter on East Trent would serve men and women 24 hours a day. That shelter would also include wraparound services to try and help those people transition out of homelessness. The city says the location meets its criteria because it is outside of the downtown core, it's on a bus line away from schools, and is not in a residential neighborhood. The next step now is to reach a final agreement on a lease and choose a shelter operator. The city also plans to finalize a set of neighborhood expectations that will guide how it is conducted, as well as communication with neighboring businesses. All right, yesterday at this time we were talking about just how cold and windy it was. There had been snowfall across the region. I don't know if there's any new snow today, but Jeremy, I think we're at least just one step closer to when we get through this final winter push.
Yeah, one step. And it's all about baby steps.
There you go.
When I was a kid, What About Bob was my favorite movie, and my mom always used to say, baby steps, Bob. And that's kind of the story of the weather right now. Temperatures, yeah, we're in the 30s. We have temps in the upper 30s here in Spokane. Feels like 35 degrees, but as you look around the region, temps hovering pretty close to that 40-degree mark with a few scattered showers. That's kind of going to be the case the next couple of days. You head over to the Cascades, and it is some serious snow coming down. That snow continues to fall in the Cascades, but take a look. This right here is our next storm system that works its way in, and by Wednesday, we'll see some of these bands of moisture move through. Not overly widespread, but the chance of more storms. Overnight, watch temps fall down into the 20s. Going to be a chilly one for us here in Spokane tomorrow. Starts out in the 20s by the afternoon, mid-40s across much of the region, slightly warmer. And like I said, all about those baby steps until we get back to where we should be.
All right, we'll take it, Jeremy. Thank you. Providence has reached a settlement with the U.S. Attorney's Office in a case of 2 former spine surgeons who reportedly conducted unnecessary surgery on patients in Walla Walla. Providence has agreed now to pay nearly $27 million to resolve allegations that those 2 former doctors fraudulently billed several federal health care programs for medically unnecessary surgeries. During a press conference today, the U.S. Attorney for the Eastern District of Washington said Providence's failure to make sure those doctors were performing safe and medically appropriate surgery procedures put patients' lives and safety at serious risk.
This case is so important because we had an instance where doctors were performing unnecessary surgeries for money. We can't allow that to happen, and my office will stand up against healthcare fraud to make sure that our community is safe and our communities are strong.
Also at today's press conference was Dr. Deontay Palmer, who was a victim of malpractice from Providence after she received unnecessary surgery, she says, at Providence. She said her life was not the same.
When I woke up from the surgery, I was in excruciating pain. I was unable to swallow. I was unable to move. I was supposed to be in the hospital for 2 to 3 days. I ended up being there for 2.5 weeks. Went home with a feeding tube for 6 months. Pain is still extreme.
For more on the settlement as well as next steps from Providence, you can visit our story on KREM.com. Spokane's median home price continues to increase, now reaching an all-time high of $430,000. A new monthly report from the Spokane Association of Realtors shows the median sales price across the city of Spokane County, or across the county for Spokane, hit $429,998 in March. That is shattering a record set just 1 month before. The report also found the median home price jumped nearly 8% from February to March of this year. The median price is up more than 26% from this time last year. For more information on that spike in prices, you can also go to krem.com. And coming up next here on KREM 2 News at 4, a new Washington law will give rideshare drivers paid sick leave. More on those stories when we come back.